Hi, good day to everyone. Today we are going to discuss the topic sequences in database management system. I am Mahalakshmi, head of the Department of IT from Madurai Sivakasinada, Pioneer Meenakshi Women's College. So this is the topics I am going to cover under the heading sequences. First we have the command create sequence command, pseudo columns next, and current value, next value, row id, row number, and creating a sequence, checking a user list of sequences, deleting a sequence, changing a sequence, using a sequence. So these are all the operations and the attributes which is related to sequence. So we are going to cover the entire thing in this lecture. So first we start with the definition. So definition, sequences, the purpose of sequences is used to create a unique identifier for a record in a database. So unique identification is mandatory to identify a record. So this is a way we are going to make use of the sequences as an object in Oracle. The definition of sequences is described here. Sequences is simply a automatic counter which is enabled whenever it is accessed. So we are going to make use of the sequences within a table. So we are first generate the auto sequence number and we call the particular auto sequence number within a table. So this is the usage of sequences inside the table object. So the number is generated automatically by Oracle, and it should be updated every time when we are calling the particular sequence number. So it automatically incremented by 1. So for example, for a product code or employee code, we can make use of the sequences without any hesitation. So the characteristics or the about a sequences are listed here. So when a sequence is created, it adopts some default values. So it have the following characteristics. It always start with the number 1 and it should be in the ascending order. For every iteration or every calling, it should be increased by 1. The sequence command, the create sequence command is used to create a new sequence, and the syntax for create new sequence command is listed here. That is create sequence name, and start with is a keyword here, and integer, it should be followed by integer, increment by integer, minimum value integer, and no minimum value, maximum value integer, no maximum value, cycle and no cycle, catch, no catch, order by no order, no order. So these are all the entire arguments list which is covered in the create sequence command. So we are going to discuss what are the purpose of these arguments within a create sequence command in the next slide. So this is the arguments list. Start with, it indicates the initial value of the sequence when used for the first time. So it will it return the value specified by the class. So increment by, so for every iteration, so how many values you are going to assign for increment. So by default it will be incremented by 1. So now we can have the options to change the by default value. We can make use of it increment by operator to mention it to every iteration. We can increment by 2 or 3 or 50. So anything in an integer input we are going to give here. So maximum value indicates the maximum value the sequence may have. So whether it is omitted, so we adopt the default value for the maximum value. So the default value is mentioned here as 10 to the power of 27. No maximum value, it indicates that the sequence does not have a predefined maximum value. So this is the continuation of the arguments list, catch, and it indicates the number of sequences should be created directly into the cache memory. So there is another provision with the same argument list, no catch is also available. Cycle and no cycle, it indicates that the sequence should return to the initial value when the maximum value is reached. No cycle, it is it's an entirely opposite to the cycle. So no cycle, it will prevents it from returning to the beginning. So we can control over the whether we are going to follow the cycle or no cycle with the help of these particular arguments. So next slide, we are going to discuss one of the attributes that is pseudo columns. So it is a predefined column which is already available in Oracle. So pseudo columns are extra columns actually. So whenever we are going to create a table, the pseudo column is automatically created by itself. So this is a type of column called row ID. So through this pseudo columns we can able to identify a particular record in a table. So in addition to that, we have two more pseudo columns like row ID. So we have current value and next value. So actually we pronounce that current value and the next value. So but the syntax will be CURVAL, cur val and next val. So these are the pseudo columns already available. The two more pseudo columns are available, that is level and row number. So now we are going to discuss the pseudo columns current value and the next value. So current value returns the current value of the sequence, what the value actually we have, and the next value it increase the value of the sequence and return the next value. So if we are going to make use of the current value, so if you want to run the iteration, so we can make use of the next value. So a sequence make use of the pseudo columns like this. So this is the syntax we should follow to avail the sequences. The name of the sequence is already available at the time of creation, dot current value, name of sequence dot next value. So with the help of the dot operator, I can make use of the current value and next value pseudo columns. So if suppose we are in a remote server to access the complete path of the database, so we have some add-on keyword to mention this. So like the following, so schema dot sequence dot current value at db link, schema dot sequence dot next value at db link. So we can use like this. So when we are going to use the pseudo columns, so within the command, so the two pseudo columns can be used with the following situation. With the commands, maybe the insert command or with the update command or with the select command, we can make use of it. So note the first point, that is in the insert command, with the value of the values class we can use pseudo columns. In the set class of the update command we can use pseudo columns. In the list of columns of the select command we can make use of it. So there is a restriction for using pseudo columns. So when we are using the insert command or update command or select command with the combination of order by, group by, distinct by and subqueries, we can't use the pseudo columns. So this is the limitation of using pseudo columns. So next we are going to discuss the row ID. So this is another way to individualize each row of a table. So the value of this column have the row ID or urow ID data type. So although it is very complex, so we can make use of it in a practical way for the entire database. So this is the way I am going to use row ID. So with the select command, so I just give select row ID comma ename from emp where employee number is equal to 30. So I want to get the entire detail of not entire detail, row ID and ename from the employee table, those who are having the department number 30. So here the entire thing results are listed here, that is row ID and employee name is listed. So the row ID is a combination of alphabets, so but it should be unique for every row. That's the thing we should note it. Row number, the row number is a pseudo column again. It receives a number of records, that is number of rows in a set of number of rows returned for a query. So we can restrict that how many number of rows can be should be displayed as a result. So the first column returned received the number 1 and the second column received the number 2 and so on. So how we are going to use the row number? The select command. Select star from emp where row number less than 9. So now it can able to return less than 9 rows with from the employee table. So not more than 9 rows it will display. So this is the output of this command. So this is the output. So you can able to count the number of rows it will return as a result. The result may be any number of records, but it will return first 8 records within the result. So but like the less than operator, we cannot use the greater than operator in the with the row id command. If suppose we can use the greater than operator with the same command, that is select star from EMP where row number greater than 10, what will happen? So it will never give a proper result. It will, the greater than operator will return false. So we definitely use the less than operator instead of the greater than operator. Create a sequence command. So a sequence is available only for the schema that has created it. The schema is maybe any user, that is a Scott or the Cindy. So who is going to create the particular sequence, they only can prefer that particular sequences for their table. The sequence example is again listed here, that is create sequence name with the default values. If suppose I am using this syntax, it will allocate all the default values for the arguments. If we want to create a simple sequence, we can make use of it. Sequence name is enough. So checking a user's list of sequences. So how we are going to check the users list of sequences? There is a command for that. There is a keyword. We can call the table named user underscore sequences. It displays the sequences of the current user. So if suppose I am the user login in my account with the help of the login credentials, so I can just use the select star from user underscore sequences. It will list the sequences whatever all created in my account. So maybe it may created by myself or someone using my account can create a sequence, but it lists the entire sequences within the schema available. So here I have only one sequences, that is new sequences. The minimum value and the maximum value are mentioned as by default value. So, so it should be incremented by 1 and the last number should be mentioned 1 since it has not yet been used. So that is why it shows the last number as 1. So if suppose you are using the sequence number, so it will show some other value, that is 20 or something 40. So in the last number, so it will not generated means it will always shows the last number as 1. So let us create the sequence number with the initial value and increment value and the size of the cache. Size of the cache specified by the current user. So create sequence, new sequence 2, start with the 500 and increment by 25 and cache 30. So select star from new sequences. So the sequence is created. Now we are going to check that it is successfully created with the help of the select command. So this is the way I am going to mention the entire result. So note that the specification of the start with updates, the last number column. In other words, beginning with the number, the counter is incremented by the value 25 each time when it is accessed. In the next example, the sequence is created with minimum and maximum value. I am not mentioning all the arguments in the sequence creation command. Just I am mentioning two arguments. Create sequence, new sequence 3 is a sequence name, minimum value is 1000, maximum value is 4000 and the sequence is created now. So now I am going to check it whether it is created properly or not with the help of the select query. Select star from user underscore sequences. This command will list the entire sequences created here. So now I am going to delete a sequence. The drop sequence command removes the sequence from the sequence schema in which it was created. So like all other commands, database objects command, so we have the drop sequence command to delete a sequence. So in this example, new sequence 2 is a sequence which already created. Now I am going to delete the particular sequence, drop sequence new sequence 2. Now how we are going to change the sequence with the help of the alter sequence command. So I can able to edit the alter sequence with the help of the alter sequence. So here there is an example how I am going to change a sequence with the query. So alter initial sequence with new sequence COM, that represents commission, with 50. So but it shows error. So why it shows error? So it is not possible to alter the initial value of the sequence. So that's why it shows error. So we have some limitations when we try to change a sequence. So the another concept in changing a sequence, the minimum value of the table cannot be greater than the current value. So let's recreate the new sequence 2 and then try to change the minimum value. So minimum value. So now we have the syntax: create initial sequence new sequence 2 with the value 500 and incremented by 25 and catch is 30. So the sequence is created now, but it shows error. So alter sequence new sequence 2 with a minimum value of 888, altered sequence new sequence 2 value 888. So minimum value cannot be created to exceed the current value. So changing a sequence, so the current value cannot be changed, the increment value cannot be changed without any problem. So in this example, the two successful changes were made to the new sequence 2 sequence. So alter the sequence new sequence 2 minimum value 30, so it should be incremented by 20 and the sequence is altered. So select star from user underscore sequences. So it will list the entire sequence created and the last number is somewhat changed. So if the last number is changed, so that much of minimum level of sequence number are created and stored in a cache. So that's why the last number will be changed. Using a sequence, the sequence is enabled the first time it is used and display its initial value. Select new sequence 3 dot next value from dual. So next value represents the next value which is in the sequence. If we run the same command again, it will increment by 1. That is 1000 is incremented by 1001 for the second time. Using a sequence, so this is the way I am going to using a sequence with the table. Select new sequence 3 dot current value from dual. So dual represents the schema again. Now I have the current value is 1001. So if suppose I am running again, it will be incremented by 1. So note that after using more than one value in a sequence, it will be incremented. So for example, so if we have increment the sequence number more, so it will have the last number as 1020. This means 20 numbers were generated in the memory cache. So select new sequence 3 dot next value from dual. So now the default current value next value of the sequence 3 is 1002. Now I am going to use the select query to check whether how many values are updated in the new sequence 3, but it will show 1020 because it will create a 20 sequence number and stored in a memory cache. That's why it shows like this. Now suppose I am going to generate more from the same sequence number. For example, next value will 20 times will be executed, the last number will be changed to 1040 because it indicates that the next 20 numbers are in the cache. So the note the select star from user underscore sequences query output. So the last number is updated and it will shows the value as 1040. So initially we can check the current value of the new sequence 3 and select new sequence 3 dot current value from dual. So it shows the current value as 1022. If we include a record and then we repeat this inclusion, that is insert into EMP table values new sequence 3 dot next value comma the employee name and the code somewhat and the date of joining, commission and the value which is for null and 20 department number, one row is created. The only thing we should note it as new sequence 3 dot next value as a employee number. Instead of giving the static number, I am going to make use of the sequence number which is already created by myself. So again I am running that command. So new sequence 3 dot next value. So I am using the same command for the continuing the sequence number. So now 2 rows are inserted in the employee table as a employee number with the help of the sequences. Now I can get the output like this. Select a star from MP where department number is equal to 20. You can note the last 2 rows in the result as listed 1023 and 1024 are the sequence number, which is somewhat different from the employee number which is already created by manually. So the another dimension of sequences is we are going to create a sequence. It's an auto generated number, so incremented by 1 r by r choice. But I created a sequence successfully. I can make use of it inside the table. It's not sequences is not only for a single table. So for the same sequence will be utilized by one or more table. So I can use the same sequence number for 2 or more tables at the same time. There is no issues. The automatic counter will be incremented, but where we are using is somewhat the number is changed. So now I show you the example. So I am just inserting a new one table, data to the new one table. So 2 rows are created successfully with the values, the static values. I am not using the sequence number here, just I am giving the inserting the data to that actual table new one. Now I am going to use the sequences here. New sequence 3 dot next value with the values of some one rel and rate of joining. So select star from new one. I am using to get the values of the new one table. So note that first 2 rows are given with a static value and the third one is 1026. So 1024 and 1025 values are maybe in some other table, but a new one table have 1026. So if suppose I am executing the same query new sequence 3 dot next value, so the next record will have the first column data as 1027. So if suppose I am some other table using the new sequence 3 dot next value, the 1027 will go to that particular table not mentioned here. So the execution is a matter. The sequence number is automatic and it should be unique, but it should not be continuously followed in a same table when we are using the sequence number with the 2 or more tables. So thank you. So this is about the sequences.